What's cooking, Gumbo Nation? You're listening to Mortgage Gumbo with Dwayne Stein on iHeartRadio. And I'm your host, Dwayne Stein, the Gulf South Mortgage Authority. And if you want to join the show, give us a call, 504-260-0995. Hey, you can check us out at facebook.com/Mortgage Gumbo. Facebook.com/Dwayne Stein, the iHeartRadio app, the Winning at Life app, MortgageGumbo.com. Just look for the chef hat in the sky, and you can find me. We're out there making sure that we bring you absolute mortgage greatness when it comes to your most valuable home, providing education and options to you. For what I am proud to say, today makes 5 for our Spanish listening customers. 5 years we have been on these great airwaves. So super excited about that. That is for sure. So before we get into that, hey, listen, I just want to make sure that we say, hey, this past week was 9/11. Make sure we never forget, just a time that has changed everything. Think about everything. You can rebuild, but you can't replace lives. You can't replace, how you go through the airport anymore. Just different things. So a lot of our way of life has changed since that time. But let's just make sure we do not forget 9/11. So wanted to make sure that I brought that up as we had that this week. And it's always a somber day, but we want to make sure that we do not never forget. Here at Mortgage Gumbo, we don't. That is for sure. Hey, a little football. Wow, what a great week last week was, right? For LSU, for the Saints, pulled out a just heart attack game there. And shout out to across the city over there. Tulane looks like they're getting their program together as well, which is fantastic. So, hey, take on the Rams. Everybody keeps talking about, revenge game. Listen, it's week 2. There's a big difference when it's week 2 versus NFC Championship to go to the bowl, okay? Care less about what happens tomorrow. Let's just go there, get a win. There's no revenge. There's no anything like that. They know what happened last year, and they've got to live with that. But they got to play in the Super Bowl. We did not. With that being said, listen, 5 years. 5 years. So, I've got to do some shout-outs here, that's for sure. Starts with number 1, Gregory Ricks. Greatest name on radio, greatest show on radio. Gregory Ricks, just a super shout out. Years ago, took an opportunity, 7 years now, a little bit over 7 years, right at 7 years, whatever the number is. Took a shot at me, went and interviewed with him. And I can remember telling him, hey, I can't bring you anything except I can make sure that I will always do things with character. I will do things correctly, and I will make sure that anybody that we do work with down the road is always handled with white gloves, so to speak. So I cannot thank Gregory Ricks enough for the opportunity and seeing something in me that, hey, I did not know that I have, and here we are 5 years later. So, Gregory Ricks, you are the man. Thank you so much for trusting me. James Parker. This guy here is Greg Ricks' his co-host. But Parker behind the scenes has been a guy that you talk about guidance, coaching. There's a lot that goes into radio. Everybody's not the Howard Sterns, the Rush Limbaughs, the Sean Hannitys. There's a lot that goes into radio behind the scenes. And James Parker has been an absolute godsend, being a coach and guiding me. Angie Berlier, who's my producer extraordinaire, been with me since day one. Cannot thank her enough. Hey, we've done the co-hosting together. She's been my producer for the last several years. Angie has been a rock. She's always there. She knows how to keep me in line, keeps the board going, keeps the show moving. A lot of you don't realize with calls and everything that goes into that. So, Angie Berlier, I cannot thank enough She helps me in more ways than I can even sit here and describe. I could do a whole show on her. So, Angie, thank you. You rock. Give yourself a little bell bing, bing there. There you go. Now we know. At least we know Angie's listening, right? So, and radio, like I said, and then just get into what goes on in the background. iHeart, y'all been awesome. I mean, everybody knows the brand, but there's a lot that goes on behind it. So, hey, Beth Darkan, my agent, so to speak. I call her my agent, my friend. Tough times in radio. These 5 years haven't been smooth, that is for sure, but she's always kept me on task. She said, let me handle some of these other things. You just go out and produce a good show. And that's what Greg, James, and Angie have helped me do over the years. So, Beth Darkan, nothing but love towards you. Jennifer Laquette, who heads up this area, she is fantastic. She comes with great ideas. She's been amazing. She's been somebody that's, now in the position she's in is helping me grow the Mortgage Gumbo brand through iHeart. So thank you. And then Tori, Market President Tori Cole, she's been amazing. Tori, you've been a godsend coming over from Pensacola now in this market. You've been amazing. Truly came on and said, hey, what do you need from us to help your show grow? And she's been Johnny on the spot. That is for sure. So, it's just been amazing with those folks behind the scenes. That's for sure. Even you start talking about Tom, who's behind the scenes, just the guy who does everything to make sure we're always on air every week. All these folks, I really cannot thank them enough. That is for sure. Jeremy Porcine as well. And then most importantly, hey, listen, you who've allowed me to hang out with you, whether it's in your home, whether it's we're driving right now, hanging out, whether it's, hey, the new 9 o'clock hour, the 1 o'clock hour. Hey, you've been with me when we've done a couple hours. You've been with me over in Mississippi. I cannot thank you enough for just the opportunity to hang out with you, to share stories, to share personal stories with you, to allow me to build a trust and a credibility. We've helped thousands over the years. And to me, that is absolutely amazing. People ask all the time, how has Mortgage Gumbo grown so much? How is it one of the most listened to shows on the weekend? How have you been able to develop such a following, so to speak? And I think just being me, when people see me, they know they can come up to me and go, hey, you're the Gumbo guy. You're the Dadcom guy. Say it for me. And it's being me. And iHeart asks me all the time when I talk to executives, man, how do you do this? And how do you make mortgages interesting? And I think I have enough respect because I know I don't want to be BS'd, right? So I know you as listeners don't want to be BS'd. And when it comes down to it, nobody teaches us. They don't teach you how to write checks anymore in a checkbook. Nobody teaches you about credit. Nobody teaches you about mortgages and what's loan to value. Matter of fact, I'm putting a show together that's going to be all about the synonyms and what are just key terms. But nobody teaches those things, right? So that is just that's been something that I think has allowed me. I'm not always PC. I'm not always. My sentences don't always make sense. I'm not cultured to the point where I know how to sit here and say everything that's supposed to be correctly. I don't know how to do teases and radio stuff and all that. But you know what I have had? I've got 25 years of experience. I've heard a lot of stories. I've got family members that have been bankrupt. I've got family members that have had credit issues. And we share those. And my job is that's where some of my passion comes from, is wanting to make sure that I don't see you go through that. When I see somebody that gets a adjustable rate quote like this week, I have a passion to show them why you don't want to have that, right? And then, of course, my Total Home Authority members who have been with me as well. Team Title, TWFG, Saltwater Vacations, 360 Home Inspections, Tito's, Greg Ricks, all these folks as part of my Total Home Authority have been with me and just been fantastic. Mosquito Joe. These are all folks that we put together to assemble for you that's going to help you in your financial needs down the road. It's a team. We want to be that one-stop shop, so to speak, for you. So I appreciate that, and it's been absolutely fantastic. So we'll have a little fun in the next break. We're going to kind of go over some things that maybe weren't around 5 years ago when we started the show. So I think that's going to be that'll be a fun time, that's for sure. You know, and the great thing about this job as well is I get the opportunity to meet just so many great realtors, so many great people who are out there. We're a service industry, right? I mean, and when you go to a restaurant and you go get something to eat, you don't care what kind of day your waitress is having. You want her to smile because that's your time. That's your thing. And this week, just a shout out, because I got the opportunity this week to head over to Gulfport and had a meeting. Marianne Patton, who's a super agent I'm working with over there, got a chance to meet Dee Salvis, got a chance to meet Greg Monroe, several folks with Fidelis Realty and Salvis Properties. And we sat down and we were discussing the Gulfport market and what are they seeing? How does Gulfport compare to maybe the New Orleans market? And we were just discussing some different options and discussing how can we make sure that we keep giving them a good product, getting people in homes for the right price, helping people understand what their options are, that you don't have to have 20% down. So we sat down for about an hour and brainstormed, and I really just want to give a shout-out to Dee Salvis for letting me come in, talk to her group of agents. It was really a good time. We had a great meeting. So, again, hey, if you're out in Gulfport, you're looking for some quality agents there, Dee Salvis, her team, Fidelis Realty, Salvis Properties, Marianne Patton, who I use quite a bit out there in that market. We work together quite a bit. So, hey, when we come back on the other side of the break, hey, let's see what wasn't around 5 years ago. We're going to have a little bit of fun. But also on this show, we've been talking about interest rates, and I told you wasn't sure. We were going to keep an eye on the trend. We're going to talk about that. And also the 10 Commandments. We got to cover that. It's the first thing we ever did. So every year on our anniversary show, we like to sort of do that as well. So big show planned for you today. Look forward to spending the next 45 minutes or so with you. You're listening to Mortgage Gumbo with Dwayne Stein right here on iHeartRadio, 504-207-7600. I gave the wrong number, Age. I gave my work number, 504. I split it. I did 504-260-7600.
I was like, wait, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, Cindy? How you doing? Good to see you, ma'am.
Sound like the buzzing's better on Mortgage Gumbo.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. It's funny, it's in and out. It's starting and stopping, but that's all right.
In 30 seconds.
Aye. What up, Jody Smith? Rebel Raider, dominant power forward. We celebrating Mortgage Gumbo's 5th year anniversary or 5th year birthday. We were born on 9/13/2014 officially. So glad to be with you over the years. 225 plus live shows over the years, etc. Blah, blah, blah. And we've grown so much that, hey, this Friday, Mortgage Gumbo and 101.1 WNOE present Aaron Watson at Southport Music Hall. Come out and check out Aaron Watson. Country music superstar will be at Southport Hall this week. Glad to be co-sponsoring with 101.1. That's right, Mortgage Gumbo and 101.1 WNOE present Aaron Watson at the Southport Music Hall, September 20th. Go out there this Friday and hang out and check him out. We talk about credit on this show all the time. All the time. And while I don't have time to do a poll, I want you, as you're driving, to kind of think, gosh, I wonder what the national average is. And I'll give you a second. What is the average credit score nationally? And if you're thinking right now, hey, let's do it like this. Is it below 660, below 680, below 700, or above 700? Right? So you're driving, you're thinking. I'm giving you a second here because you're pondering. Well, when it comes to credit, Americans are scoring better than they ever have. And it's probably because of Mortgage Gumbo. The average national credit score is now 706. This is the highest it's been since, if you remember, hey, we're 10 years out of the 09 debacle. So record high, 706 is the average credit score in the United States by all folks who have a FICO score. So that's a pretty good number. That average has grown tremendously over the years. So, but with that being said, that does not mean if you're not a 706, we can't help you out. Doing a loan for a client this week that has below a 620, we're helping out. And that kind of brings me to this question, because anytime we get questions that are just so salt to the earth, I want to share them with you. And this question here comes from Rebecca. What is the percentage rate decrease I should look at to consider refinances? Well, what I want to tell you here, Rebecca, is times have changed. Back in the day, people used to say, well, if you can't get 2% cheaper, then it's not worth it. Well, yeah, when interest rates were 17% or at 9%, I would agree with that. But my question to you is simple. And what I would ask you, Rebecca, and listeners, is this. When it comes down to it, are you looking to decrease your rate? But paying off debt? What are you looking to do? Are you looking to get cash? You have to look at the pros and cons of what is the purpose of your refinance. Is it to cut term? Is it to alleviate debt? What are your goals? So a lot of folks are old school. Listeners, people driving, You don't have to. The days have changed. That person that's telling you 2% that bought a house in 1970, well, they were probably paying 17% or 21% of their mortgage. So when they're looking at a rate today that's in the threes, well, you're not going to cut 2%. You may not cut 1%. Now, I can tell you, this week I had several people who were refinancing who are over 5.5%. There's still folks out there, and they're calling, and we're getting them taken care of. But what you got to look at from my standpoint is, what is this going to help you with? Client this week, we're cutting their term, okay? For the same exact payment they have now, we're cutting their term by 5 years, giving them $40,000 cash, alleviating their mortgage and their debt. Guess what? It's the same payment. We're not cutting their rate by 2%. We're not cutting their rate by 1%. But you know what we're doing? For the same payment, we're cutting term. So they're going to pay a lot less for this house than what they initially thought they would when it comes to interest savings. So there's a big difference there. So when it comes to what is the rate decrease you should look for, Rebecca, and for you who are driving and wondering, should I be refinancing? And for when we get in a rate watch and I discuss rates, you have to look at the entire picture. That's why we created Mortgage Gumbo 5 years ago. We want you to understand that life is not what's on paper. Life is not a number on a piece of paper. So we want to figure out how we can create that for you and help you with that. So keep that in mind when it comes to interest rates. It cannot be just about rates when you're looking at doing a refinance. While rates are fantastic right now, you have to keep that in mind. Good article this week came out. Ryan Smith. This was Mortgage Professionals. This came out. Recession fears are driving bidding wars to 8-year lows. And it's funny because in Gulfport, and I called several agents this week and almost kind of, polled, P-O-L-L-E-D. It sounded weird to even me. I polled them, and I said, well, what's going on? And why are houses sitting? And you know what? This media, this recession fear that is being brought on us has people scared. When we have these low interest rates, houses are sitting. So you have the opportunity to get houses for a great price. It's perfect time. It's good for selling. It's good for buying. Yet bidding wars are at 8-year lows, and I can tell you why. It's simply because the fear of a recession. Well, my question is, what do you wait? So if a recession happens, and you know what? And we'll get into that. If a recession does happen, what does that mean for you, right? Because 40% of 226 economists surveyed in July believe the United States will fall into a recession by the end of 2020, while a remaining 60% believe the next recession will begin in 2021. Well, why don't they just throw some goofy, another number out there? But my question is, why? What do they mean? So for you who's wondering about being a homeowner, for you who's wondering if a recession does happen, all right, so what does that mean for housing, right? Let's talk about that. What does that mean? Because, hey, a couple weeks ago, we had an 800-point dive, right? So everybody's like, oh, here it is. It's over. World's coming to an end. No, it's not. But the bottom line is what you have to understand is while we talk about we're 10 years out of 2009, we are in a totally different situation than what we were back then, right? So it's a psychology. It's your thought process is that. We're at all-time low unemployment rates right now. So people are working. So when we have the recession, what is that going to be? People aren't losing their jobs. What is the recession when it comes to your home, right? The homeowners started defaulting. Why? And the market went into a free fall. Why? Because people were losing their jobs. Why? Because people had houses and multiple houses based on they were able to fog a mirror. The lending guidelines weren't as stringent and as secure as they are now. Right? You had over construction. Everybody was just building. Well, now we have the opposite, right? Now we have the opposite. We can't get homes built quick enough. And I'll give you a stat in a little bit about homes that are being sold. And why we created over here at Mortgage Gumbo, partnered up with Cross Country to create a one-time closed construction plan. But this recession that they keep talking about, it's not going to be anything like it was in 2009, if it even happens. I don't know what this recession is. I'm just a guy like you who just kind of goes through life and not naive. It's my job to know this stuff when it comes to your mortgage. But when I start hearing all this recession talk, what I know about this is a recession would have to make a huge dent in the housing supply. Right? It would have to make a huge dent. And how is that going to happen? We're talking about Realtor.com and all these other sites. These experts are talking about how inventory is declining. They need a resurgence in inventory. So I don't understand how a recession comes in when you don't have inventory. When you have states like California that are putting caps now on rent. I don't understand that. So I'm really just wondering where a lot of this comes back to. When the Fed is looking at cutting rates. And keep in mind, folks, we'll talk about that during Rate Watch. Short-term rates and the Fed next week, that's different than your mortgage rate. You're listening to Mortgage Gumbo with Dwayne Stein right here on iHeartRadio. It's our 5-year anniversary show. Appreciate you hanging out. If you want to be on the show, give us a call, 504-260-0995.
You gonna do Rate Watch next segment?
Thank you, Big Tim. Appreciate it, brother. Tim, I hope Colette didn't lose all your money last night at the casino, brother.
All right, 20 seconds.
All right. Facebook fans, join us next week. Colette Beancoff, the queen of insurance, jumps into the pot of gumbo. Visit themonarchins.com. Yes, indeed, we're celebrating 5 years. Thank you, thank you, thank you, listeners. Thank you for all those awesome listeners, fans, we'll call them fans, and clients who have trusted me with their most valuable asset over the 25-plus years, but since doing Mortgage Gumbo as well. You're listening to Mortgage Gumbo with Dwayne Stein right here on iHeartRadio. Hey, listen, if you are not in your car and you're used to watching me, we had about 25-plus people chilling out on Facebook.com/Dwayne Stein. Just hop over to Mortgage Gumbo. A little bit of technical difficulties. We'll try to get that fixed up for you. But just go to Facebook.com/Mortgage Gumbo and follow the show there if you like that. So I'm going to probably call an audible here, and it's my show, and we could do that. But let's have a little fun with what things did not exist 5 years ago. And feel free to call in if you know something as well, 504-260-0995. But here's one that I wish still did not exist because it seems like I can't get my son or any house that I go into. It's what all the kids are doing. But think about this, Fortnite. The game Fortnite. If you don't know what that is, consider yourself blessed because I see adults playing this stuff. But Fortnite. What about, and Parker loves this, and he thinks this is the wave of the future, but maybe he's right, drone delivery. Have you ever had a package delivered by drone? I haven't, but I've seen them cruising around my neighborhood. It's kind of weird. We're lazy people. We don't even go grocery shopping anymore. What about grocery Walmart pickup or delivery? Or you hire a service to bring it to you. What about those, waiter? These delivery services now. God, who'd have thought Domino's and Papa John's, they were on to something and did not even realize it. Just think if they'd have been like, hey, listen, 2 large, 1 toppings, $11.99. Or, with your delivery of 2 singles, we'll throw in a $5.99 pizza and we'll deliver it for you. Right? That's crazy. But look at Waiter, Uber Eats, Nintendo Switch. You can tell I asked some kids some stuff, right? Those fidget spinners. The Ring video doorbell. Ring video doorbell. That wasn't around. Got this one sent in to me this morning. This is Tesla, right? We've heard of Tesla. What about that Tesla 3 model that you see everybody driving around in? Apple Watch. How crazy is that? Alexa wasn't around 5 years ago. Alexa didn't exist. You heard of Facebook? Well, you know what you didn't hear 5 years ago? Snapchat. Snapchat didn't exist. Maybe you used to drive around a little inebriated. Maybe you used to drive around and put just one hand over one of your eyes and be like, all right, just follow the one in the middle. Or you took a cab. Oh, how gross. Well, you know what didn't exist in New Orleans market 5 years ago in the metropolitan area? Uber and Lyft. Didn't exist. And, of course, I mean, if you want something recent that didn't exist 5 years ago, heck, it didn't exist 45 days ago, about the old Popeye's chicken sandwich. That's just some things there I wanted to share. So, hey, what are we going to see in 5 years from now? Think about the retail apocalypse that's going on right now. Think about malls that are closing. Your Payless shoe sources are gone. All your in this area, Kmart's, Sears. What are things going to look like 5 years from now? We'll be here to tell you that. That's for sure, folks. Because we've been here 5 years and we plan on doing a lot more. No place I'd rather be than sharing education options with you on my Saturday mornings. That's for sure. Let's get into Rate Watch. We got a video from Diane Olick with CNBC. We're going to play her. Let's hit that first, Ange.
Home buyers are taking advantage of lower mortgage rates and a slightly more anxious seller. Total mortgage application volume rose 2% last week compared with the previous week, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association's seasonally adjusted index. Volume was 69% higher than the same week 1 year ago when interest rates were much higher. Now, it was all driven by buyers. Purchase applications up 5% for the week and up 9% annually. More listings come on the market after Labor Day, and some agents say a particularly slow spring this year may have pushed demand forward to fall. Now, the lowest rates in 3 years didn't hurt either. The average rate on the 30-year fixed with conforming loan balances fell to 3.82% from 3.87% for loans with a 20% down payment. That rate was 4.84% just a year ago. Now, you'd think refis would have popped on that, but they were basically flat for the week, still 169% higher than a year ago when the refi market was basically asleep last year. Now, some lenders say borrowers actually stall when rates are really dropping, hoping they'll go even lower. Of course, interest rates popped back this week, so that gamble maybe didn't pay off, or we'll see more refis next week.
You just heard her say refinance is 169% higher. Buyers, 69% higher. We brought to you, let me see, I could even tell you. We discussed this back in June, okay, in June, 1 year ago, when rates were at 3.94, the average rate was 4.57 on a $200,000 loan, okay? For the same price, you could have went and got a $215,000 loan, okay, when rates were 3.94. Rates have been absolutely amazing. And what Diana's saying there is sort of weird when you're thinking about it, because she's wondering, hey, where is some of this stuff at? You know, so those are things when we're looking at rates, we've got to keep in mind, because the reality, when it comes to interest rates, we had a bad week. This was the worst week for mortgage rates. Yeah. This was the worst week for mortgage rates in almost 3 years. And we told you a couple weeks ago we were going to keep our eye on this trend. And I told you I wasn't liking what I'm seeing, but hey, let's keep an eye on it. The good news is for my clients, hey, we're keeping an eye on them. And for those that we were able to get locked in, we got them locked in. You heard her saying, if you sat on the sideline, it was a gamble. If you're sitting on the sideline, guess what? Rates this week are 30 basis higher today than they were when I came to you last Saturday. Now, with that said, we are still super, super low. 30-year conventional last week was at 3.55. You heard Diane mention it, 3.84. We're at 3.85. 15-year, 3.25. This week, 3.52. So those folks that I was locking in last week at 2.875, and those folks that called me this week and said, hey, let's get the ball rolling, let's get this in. Well, if you hesitated, you missed out on 2.875. But is 3.25, is 3.5 really bad? No, I want you to understand that. But I don't like the trend. FHA 3.25, that's up a full quarter basis point to 3.50. Jumbo 3.63, that's up to 3.89. The 5-1 ARM 3.54. Be aware of the shysters. Be aware of the folks who are going to try to start selling you an ARM because they're going to tell you rates went up. While rates went up, and I've told you, the pain of rate going up is so much more, okay, than the euphoria of it going down 10 basis points. While we had a 30 basis point hike in rates this week, these are still fantastic, fantastic rates. So do not let that, if anything, let that tip you over the fence. Don't go back the other way and go, oh, no, I'm going to wait. Let that drive you to come see what we can do with housing. Let that drive you to come see what we can do for a refinance. Because like I told Rebecca, it's not always about that number on a piece of paper. Let's put a package together. Let's put a plan together for you. Let's look at maybe capitalizing on all your debt. So while it was the worst week for rates in 3 years, I'm not letting that poo-poo on my day. I'm looking at it, hey, there's an opportunity. And you heard her say, 169% of applications were up. So people are heeding the warning. They're coming in. Jump in before the water gets cold. You're listening to Mortgage Gumbo with Dwayne Son on iHeartRadio. Give us a call, 504-260-0995. It's been 5 years, people. And I can't wait to keep spending my Saturdays with you. We'll be back on the flip.
Hey, did you get in your sponsor?
Who? Tito's?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
then-
going to. I'm gonna do.
Cool. I don't know. Rate Watch was cool. You saw my text? That was funny. Are you doing the 10 Commandments when you come back?
No, I'm a table that. I don't think I'm gonna need it.
Cool.
I got a couple questions that I want to get to about the one-time close last week, so figure that's more important, huh? You think?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
I was going to get my thunder ready just in case.
Right.
All right, 20 seconds, and I'll give you a 2-minute warning.
Go Sheila, it's your birthday. Go Sheila, it's your birthday. Go Birdie, it's your birthday. Go Birdie, it's
That's
your
right.
birthday.
You're listening to Mortgage Gumbo with Dwayne Stein on iHeartRadio. 504-260-0995. One segment left here. We're celebrating our 5-year anniversary. Hey, you know what wasn't around 5 years ago? Just got a text. Rocket Mortgage. That wasn't around either. We'll see if that's around in 5 years. Hey, we were talking about rates, and Rate Watch is brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka, America's first and original handcrafted vodka. And while we're talking about interest rates being 30 basis higher than they were last week, I want to make sure that I reiterate, folks, that number on a piece of paper, you need to make sure that you are working with somebody. When you hire a lender, they look at the big picture. Is this your forever home? Because if it's not your forever home, then why do you maybe you don't want to consider a 15-year note? Okay? Maybe you want to look at a 30-year. You know, is the goal to get rid of debt and save you monthly payments? Because I can tell you your 3.85 is going to probably be better than where you are right now. If you're looking at purchasing a home, these rates are fantastic. They're lower than what they were last year at this time. Right? And when it comes to these economists, like we talked about last time, predicting the world's going to come to an end, right? And they're talking about how, you know, we're looking at a recession. And I was talking to you and bringing up the fact that I don't understand how we can have a recession when we're at all-time unemployment. You're not going to have a big movement all of a sudden in, you know, income. Housing isn't going to fall out like it did in 2009. These are the folks that last year predicted that right now at this time we'd be at 5.5%, 6%. So keep that all kind of in perspective. With that being said, the Fed does meet this week, September 17th and 18th. So for 2 days, meets for 2 days on a seven. So they are in an official blackout period, which they are not. Which the Fed, it's the worst kept secret ever. We've been saying that for years. That previous lady Yellen or whatever her name was, Janet Yellen. I mean, God, she was the worst. Not only was she a horrible public speaker, she was the worst at keeping secrets. But they're not allowed from midnight 2 Saturdays before the scheduled meeting to midnight the Thursday after the meeting. So they're in a blackout period right now. And the reason I bring this up is I think I'm going to do a class on interest rates and short-term versus long-term rates. And this is proof right now, and I warned of this when you see mortgage rates are kind of going up a little bit right now. See, we're getting along with China right now. Nobody's bombing each other right now, right? The world's kind of almost at peace, so to speak, okay? The little dude in North Korea, we're not arguing with him right now, right? So when you don't have world strife and everything's kind of settled, you got low unemployment. Well, that's why you're seeing long-term mortgage rates go up a little bit. But when the Feds keep talking about these rate cuts, keep in mind these are short-term rate cuts. You're going to see a little bit of a benefit in your credit card statements. But this is what banks lend money to banks at. See, the big boys, they're required by law, by FDIC, they've got to have so much money in their bank, right? So they sort of barter with each other. They make deals with the devil, and they lend money to each other at these short-term, the federal funds rate. They lend money to each other, so at the end of the day, hey, I'll give you $2 billion at this cost, so you can be okay, but it's going to cost you X amount. Well, that's what those numbers are. So you need to understand what short-term rates are, and that has anything to do with mortgage rates, so I want you to understand that. The sale of existing homes account for 90%, and I want to specify, and I'm making quotation marks. For all the folks on Facebook, you see me, quotation marks. Existing homes. The sale of existing homes. That's not new construction. That's somebody that lives in a house and sells you their house. That's considered an existing home. Accounts for 90% of all home sales in the United States. What? Wow. That's why we've created a one-time closed construction loan. 90%, 9 out of 10 sales are existing homes. You know why? Because construction costs, builders, we've talked about this, that dirt, they want too much for it. They're charging you too much for it. So if you're interested in purchasing a home, or maybe you own a lot, and you're like, you know what, maybe I want to build my own home, that's why we've created this one-time closed program for you. Because we understand what those costs are, and we want to help you with what those costs are. But that is amazing when you think about it. Bill and Lutcher sent an email. I was told you said you can do no money down construction loans. How? Listen, that's funny, Bill, but yeah, I can. If you're a veteran, you can build your own house with no money down. You can. Okay? Now, I'm happy to report that with Bill, we're looking at helping him into something. He's going to get an FHA construction loan because he's not a veteran. But if you're a veteran and you want to build a house, no money down. Tom and Laplace got so many questions from last week's show. Keith Straczynski, Vice President of Construction Lending. I already own a lot. Can I get a construction loan to build my own house? Absolutely yes. You can build your own house on your lot. Absolutely. Now, you cannot build your own home yourself, but yes, you can build, and what I mean by that is as a self-build. But yes, if you own a lot, listeners, and it's been sitting there, and you don't know what to do with it, hey, you want to build a house on it? We can help you with that. We can help you with that. Dwayne, I'm a builder, and listen to your show. How can I build houses for you? Listen, Jeff, it's very easy to get signed up.
2 minutes, 2 minutes.
If you want to be a builder, that we have to vet you. We want to see that you've been in business for a couple years. We want to make sure that you're working on construction or major remodels, a minimum of 3 a year, because we're going to protect our clients. And we're going to make sure that these are builders. This isn't folks with a hard hat and a nail gun and a hammer with some wood and a truck. So if you're a builder and you're interested, sign up 2 of them this week. It's a very, very simple process. If you're thinking about building a home, hey, if you're a big builder out there and you're building homes right now, I'm working with a gigantic national builder now that heard the show, and I'm meeting with them next week to discuss, because you know what they can't offer their buyers? 0% financing.
1 minute, 1 minute, one.
Use my money. Folks, thank you so much for 5 great years. I appreciate it. Y'all been amazing. I've helped thousands. I look and cannot wait to help thousands more over the years. Thank you, thank you, thank you for 5 awesome years on radio. And until next week, Gumbo Nation, go out this week and tell everybody, Mortgage Gumbo. Go out and tell everybody to share a Facebook post. You've been listening to Mortgage Gumbo. And until next week, Gumbo Nation, keep stirring the pot.
Get this party started. Get this party started on a Saturday night. Everybody's waiting for me to arrive. Sending out the message to all of my friends.
All right, Dwayne.
Just more
Happy 5.
anniversary show. You know what I'm
Will
saying?
do.
All right, baby. Have a good one. Thank you.
You too. Have a good weekend.
All right, bye-bye.